number of things that we are going to put on the table. There's a lot that's going on in and around the local scene, and we're going to touch on some regional issues and also some international issues as we get into programming. We want to work along with our listeners. So those of you who generally follow us, and if you log uh, on the Facebook wall or on the YouTube wall and you want to make your comments, we do respond to your comments. So you can add your topic to the discussion via that form as well. So you can put your messages in, and or you may be able to give us a call at 662-7196 to be a part of the discussion if you want to do so via the phone lines. So, good evening, welcome everybody, and be prepared for another interesting edition of the topics here on Real Entertainment Network. As we say, good evening to Ras Banky. Ras Banky, global greetings.
Yes, sir, and good evening and greetings to all that tuning into Real Entertainment Network and another edition of the topics. Greatly appreciate you guys tuning in. Let me say good evening to the folks in Oli and Layamiga. If you're a first time listener, which means St. Kitts and Nevis are St. Christopher and Nevis, which two islands, a smaller one and a larger one. Let me say good evening to the folks in neighboring islands, Saba and Stacia, St. Martin, St. Bass, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and the BVI, also the folks over in Montserrat. Greatly appreciate the guys tuning in, and the folks over in Antigua and Barbuda, and also over in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Lucia. Wherever you're through the Leeward and Windward Islands, greatly appreciate you guys tuning in, and also the folks in the diaspora, North America, up to Canada, Maine, Chicago, the Florida Keys, Atlanta, New York, Boston. We have folks listening all over, and call up them, but wherever you at, all folks over in Europe, in England, the different time zone, Africa, and Indonesia, the folks over in Costa Rica, where students are studying also in Taiwan. I appreciate you guys tuning in, staying up late in different time zone, in some areas in the morning, and you're all up about getting ready to go to classes and stuff like that. So I appreciate you listening. You could be tuned into listening to any other media house, but you choose to spend the time with us and see what we have to share. And you mean that we have built our accreditation and credibility where you trust that information we're giving out to the general public and how we dissect it is some use to you guys and stuff like that. So we appreciate the trust that you're having us and stuff like that. So looking forward this evening for the discussion as usual. Yes, son?
Yes, definitely, my brother. Looking forward to the discussion and looking forward to the engagement with the public and the comments on the Facebook wall or YouTube wall and the callers who may call in. Banky, how are things on the farm side? I know you said you would have been having a lot of rains in recent times, and you said that you would have been getting ready to start to harvest watermelons. I know the mangoes are in, getting ready for as we get closer to Mango Fest. But you started to harvest your watermelons yet, or not yet?
Well, the farm is going great. I have a lot of planting train out, bananas train out. 'Cause once anything after 6 to 8 months pass, banana will start to train out, start to flower stuff. So right now, and then by now in September, I'll have a few hundred bananas and stuff like that. Both planting, silk, regular cooking bananas. I already cutting bananas already, the regular cooking one. So I have one day gonna probably leave half of it to ripe up and stuff like that. But the melons they will be ready in the next 3 weeks and then down into middle of next month. Cause I have a longer variety. The Charleston grape, much bigger one to 30 pound. But I bought one, the sugar baby, which usually is yellow inside, but then I realized it changed the color from the light color, then turned into a darker color, almost black. So I said, this is strange. But then I tested one yesterday, let the wife test one, and then I realized it red. I said, red? So I said, but then the sugar baby come red inside, because all the year the planet sugar baby is yellow inside, but this variety seemed to be red. So I asked the director, which was an African sugar baby, said he got to check it out too, because all of us know sugar baby to be yellow
Yellow.
inside, but somehow, yes, but it's capped by a pound seed. We have over nearly 12,000 seeds. But I mean, If it's a new variety, that's fine. It's not an issue. I just figure it was. You would
Maybe
have
a
been
mistake,
ready.
man.
Yeah,
Maybe one drop in one the
new
seed,
one. A 2 field mega planted out there, I took
and
all
all of
the
them red,
acre.
and all of
Well,
them
I
red.
test one. Well, I just test one. You know what I mean? The
Yeah,
sampling.
that's what I'm saying. Maybe
So
that
I'll
one. Maybe that's the only one. Maybe that's the only one. A red
no,
seed end up happening in the yellow bag.
no. I don't think so because this kid different. My plan is been on for years. The sugar baby color should always be light green with some straight stripes and it. This one is just completely dark, almost a dark blue to black. So our
Mm.
manica when it start off you see the coloration, but then when it start you just serve a wimble, can be monitor in them, can be bad about monitor. So I've been really kind of suspicious about how they look. So that's why when I tested, I was like, okay, I want to see something wrong in the beginning so I can act like a surprise. But that's fine. If it's a new variety, at least I get to test it, to bring it to the people and see how they like it the same way. You know what I'm saying? But the fruit is nice. A lot of them fruit is nice and the size is there. It's like over 5 to 8 pounds. They probably come. It's a nice
Okay.
grown melon, a cantaloupe size, honeydew size, those kind. But heavy in weight and have a thick flesh. And then the other melon now, the other sugar baby, have a thin flesh. If you watch it, it busts. You see? So this have a
Mm.
very thick flesh. So when you cut it now, you see a thick flesh. So you have almost like a half inch of the white part that full of that compound that is good for male. You know what I mean? With
Right.
low libido and stuff. Yes. So it's a different variety, which is fine. But apart from that, the farm is great. It's just maintenance. I'm doing this, and then have some next set of melon. I want to start planting out next week in the next 12 plots. Can you just and then once I take out the Charleston green, I want to start working on a greenhouse about 30 to 60 feet, and then start put tomatoes and bell peppers and stuff inside there in pots, and then half planting the ground. So different farming system when people come on the farm and stuff like that. So I have lampposts and my mesh and everything already. All the material is there just to take out this crop and then I start working. So that's my July project. So I want to start set my tomato seeds and them in the next month or in the next 2 weeks or so, by the mid third week in this month. So at least I know I'll have a next 5 weeks before you start to transplant, which means that at that time the greenhouse should be up and running. So at least a plan ahead. So it's just a transplant when done once. Everything up and running, no time to waste. You know what I mean? So just everything in my head already done and stuff like that. So but we not been getting much rain now because so Howard dust have been coming in for the last week since the rain passed at the following week after so Howard
Mm.
dust coming in, so we haven't much rain for the last week and a half, something like that. But so you know it's just about maintenance and make sure you control the water and you don't have no leakage and overwatering and all them different stuff. Because it's windy now in my area. I'm not sure I only the island, but it's windy now, so the evaporation rate gonna increase along with the transpiration rate. So you might have to water here and there a little more than usual. But for me, it's fine because my farming technique, remember, I don't do plowing and I just use it with and cut the grass on the bed and stuff. So the melon them already running so they don't have to do no cutting so and don't have on soon to harvest, so that is fine. But the other part of the farm, then the cutting around the coconut trees and the banana trees and different stuff. You have the grass and the bed so the moisture remain within the soil. So I'm fine with my technique that I'm using. So I don't have any issue when it comes to overwatering or underwatering. The acres and mulch. My whole say work on so as you comment, just playing some golf, which kind of so use it. It's a whole the farm is a whole land. You know, what I'm saying, we're on barefoot children can go around. Kind of so design it so at least the children can right now even planning on doing something for the summer when school is out. Have some discussion with my cousin and that they want to. So on Saturday and Sundays, the family is open for them to come on the farm, both in Castle. And just a day with the family come up and the children on the farm, Saturday and Sunday, and just chill, get popcorn and different stuff. You know, what I mean, some kids stuff, and just enjoy the farm at the same time, learn a bit about
Man,
agriculture, vibes.
you making the farm. You taking the farm to a different level now, man. You say you playing golf on the farm.
Man, once the children come there, they play golf, have a lot of golf balls and golf clubs and stuff like that. So I show them the different techniques and when Eddie and them and we about them from so season come back a Saturday time to get a car meal and fish and whatever. They come to the back and knock a golf ball. Because that's the idea. You see what I mean? Because golf is all science and you're playing against yourself. You see what I mean? So it's all about techniques and different stuff and alignment and wind drift and all the different stuff and yeah. Well, I'm self-taught.
Well,
I never
this
been a golf self-taught.
no,
I'm just
but this is
watching it.
interesting, Banky. This is interesting because this is another way to that and another sport that we can encourage a lot of our younger people to get into. When you said that some of these guys who are playing golf usually
Yeah,
will
man.
come by on the weekends and
What
stuff.
is a better
So maybe now you need to organize something where they can, seek to pass on some of the skills to the younger ones who would stop by and so on. So maybe that's something that you could
I don't have that
work on to
anymore.
formalize it a little bit.
That's what I want, because you see, some of the best deals in life, have been made on the golf course. You understand? You met all kind of people on the
Right.
golf course, but I've never been on a golf course. You see, when people come on the farm and they see golf ball, they get intrigued and wonder, well, where this golf ball come from? Until I hit the ball, they say, oh. You see what I mean? Because you have to put in the time, and it's all about hitting the ball as close to the hole, keeping it straight, and then different grass gonna go different and stuff like that. And then when we hit the ball, sometimes it spin and it drop and it bounce back and different then it curve and it's just like we're playing pool, but instead of hitting a ball with a
Man, that
stick.
that is that is gonna be that is going to be a totally different spin in terms of agrotourism because I could see
People love
the
it.
pictures
They love it. They
coming
love
from the
it.
tourists coming from the tourists when
Yeah,
they come by
because
on the farm and take a visit and shoot off a tee off a ball.
yeah,
That is
of
going to be
course.
something.
Because the trick is everybody think they can hit the ball, eh? That's the trick. Everybody think they can hit the ball, but that's not the case. You see? And it says you gotta put in the time. Otherwise, if you keep your eye off the ball, you're gonna swing and spin around and start this. Yeah, so it's fun, but as I said, I mean I would watch things and then just I would put in the time and practice and that's it. So, but most people think but never been on a golf course and nothing like that. I just knock by on the properties and just over the years, I just watch it and learn all the different techniques and the physics part of it on ESPN over the last 30 years. So that's all it is. Like
That's
any other
that's
sports,
that's
hockey.
quite innovative, quite innovative. So people, Nevis, Tourism Authority, you got to look into this. We're offering golf on the farm. That is
Yes,
something that is. I'm definitely telling you that just listening to it, the idea. I
yes,
mean, I can see myself, coming and learning to tee off one or two ball as well. So yeah, I'm loving the
yes.
sound of that. Very innovative, and I'm loving that new innovation that is going to be added to
I mean, I had
Shabbas Organic.
when I had this CSBC came there when they did the as for the assignment, they didn't want to leave the farm because you had a class of nearly 30 students just hitting ball and betting each other recording. So even the children they will come there, 5 year old, 10 year old, because is golf is a small ball and then you think you will hit it, but that's not the case. You see, because it's not just watching the ball and then looking up in the air and walk like a sword. So, and everybody technique is different holding the club, and you just let people be them true self, and then you just show them one or two things and aligning the body in where they want to hit and all this different stuff. So, I learn by listening to people. Why when they come, everybody have their own technique, you have your own swing. People might change your swing, but you're comfortable with a swing. You stick with it. You see what I mean? I could show you. So it's just all kind of different vibes, but you're playing against yourself. That's the whole point. Okay, so nobody cool. You can't blame nobody. You see, so you're playing against yourself. So you have to concentrate. Your meditation have to be there and everything. Cause you're playing against yourself. You're not competing with nobody else but yourself. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Banky, as we move on, right? There's a comment that is in the box here from last week.
Yes.
Well, not last week. I guess it would have been the week before because we didn't get a chance to do anything last week. But it says very disappointing to hear that the CSS school is in need of maintenance. The NIA should get more involved in the 75th anniversary of our historic institution. Um, And that is leading me to ask you, the PRO, how is that going in terms of the activities that they would have had in terms of the commemoration, and what is the word in regard to the proposal that you guys are making in terms of renovating the hall to the point where it can be utilized to generate revenue for the school because it could be used to host other functions and so on. Before you answer though, right, I was just going to add this comment that I guess it is stimulated by the fact that that comment is still on the screen. Cecil Doe said they need to build a new school. Those buildings are old. And so your comment and that and response to what is happening so far with the 75th anniversary celebration of the Charleston Secondary School.
Well, as the PRO, I must say, a couple of weeks ago there was a 75th sign was erected at this on the school ground outside the hall and stuff like that. We had a ceremony and stuff like that, and then we had the PTA had a breakfast in Charlestown, which was organized by the PTA and with some guidance from the school. Because I still got to communicate with the school as a PTA. Because the school have their protocols and different stuff. So that came off pretty well. The community came out. It was a community event just for the cars to car. Yes, and we went to school. They have just a military school, but a school of what a generation of 30 years. When we leave the school, the hall is the same way as it is. Nothing changed. Same push-up windows, same floor, stage. Maybe one or two change, but and it's a large building. So the PTA along with the 75th anniversary committee, they said, they said the initiative and I guess the initiative and partner to decide that's will be one of the things we'll take on, and along with other repairs that is needed in the school at the same time and stuff like that. But also there's a flyer going around with $75 for the car for 75th anniversary. That all those money will goes towards the repairs and anything that the school needs and stuff like that. So we're encouraging the whole community to get on board. Because this initiative can also transfer to the Gentleton High School. You see what I mean? Because all this space could be, and it's so big, it can divide into three different partition where you can have three different functions at different times. So once the design is done properly, already communicated with an architect, who are part of the school, so they work with, and then some others to get some estimate of the windows and different stuff. So everything going according to plan. Also, this month, the 13th of this month, we're organizing the Marine Department of Agriculture, Fisheries and Marine. They'll be having the Fish Festival. So we will take the school. We also have a boat there. And I must big up Chef Michael Henville and all those who take part, help out very well with the breakfast, and he also come on board to help. Once I reach out to him and let him know the cars, he's a banker and give me some ideas what will do well for an event like that. So we'll probably have some fish chowder and some fish this and fish that, just, because everything seafood and some local drinks. So come out and support the Charleston Secondary School booth at the Fish Festival. The 13th, it should start at 11 o'clock till probably about 6, 7 o'clock, something like that. So the PTA is doing its work, and also encourage any parents who will be available on that day. And our help is always needed around in the boat and contribute the service and stuff like that. So we put in the time. It's a small PTA group in the executive, but we all get along well and encourage each other and make the contribution how we can and stuff like that. So I'll probably be in the boat for maybe for 2 hours and then go back on the farm and then come home and do the show. Probably go to the boat to 1 o'clock for at least 2 hours, come back on the farm 3 o'clock, and then come back and do the show in the evening, and then I can give an overview how everything went down. But the general public is definitely supporting the breakfast as they went well, and I'm just looking forward for also, encouraging the government, to find some money. And they don't find money for culture. How much at least they can find $2 million, which is nothing to give to the school, a $7 million or $7.5 million for the 75 years. And that the school will surely appreciate that and will go far away when it comes development and stuff like that for the school and an expansion. So giving the school 7.5 for the 75th anniversary, I think is not strange compared to what, be going on and stuff like that in some time. So, and that school, I mean, thousands and thousands of people have passed their schools, engineers, pilots, you understand, and stuff like that, doctors. So it shows that each one can donate, can contribute something, and this initiative can really come off easily and without a doubt. And then the school will have an income where they have to ask for less from the community and stuff like that. So at least they have something generating, and at least, and then name it after whoever they choose to make auditorium or whatever and stuff like that. Convention center, half of two head teachers. You don't have to be one. Somebody could be two teachers and stuff like that. And yeah, I think naming stuff after one somebody nowadays, I think you already name it after two persons. In a sense like that, it goes up a long way.
Banky, I am very much intrigued with your ideas and plans and visions, and the
Because I
way
see
the way
space
you.
different. I see space different. I mean, working in the construction area. I mean, when I see space and I see land, it could be a 10 by 10. I see it vertical. I see it different way. I just don't see a small space. I see space up in the air. I see space underground. I just see things different because I understand how to use space. You see what I mean? So I just see things different. Most people see things. Yeah.
No, well, I was looking at when you were talking about the government giving 7.million for the 75th anniversary, and you're saying like that should be not change, and I mean that's the reality, and I'm saying that you sound good as a minister of government, like I think based on some of the things that you really seeking to propose, the people listening should want to give their credit and give their X to somebody like you who would be willing to do these things. However, the reality that we face on the ground is what I was going to get into after listening to a lot of what you just mentioned, because it is still kind of mind boggling in terms of how important it is that we claim education is, and the emphasis that is placed on education, and how they seek to boast that we are 90+% literate society and all these things. However, you see the stark neglect in the education system when things like this happen. When are celebrating 75 years of an institution that would have generated even some of these leaders that are present, some of the ministers of government that are present, and we are saying here, 75 years after, that the building still look the same way that it looked, the hall at least that we're speaking of, still look the same way it looked when me and you went to school, and even some of these same ministers went to school. And we keep seeing and hearing the teachers, the staff, the auxiliary workers, and so on having to beg donation and raise funds, and get furniture, and when these things do happen, when they do get a donation, it's like Jesus sent heaven from above. What should be the government's responsibility in terms of really addressing education and focusing on education to ensure that we have proper facilities, that the teachers and students, the teachers don't have to be begging to get ink and toners for the printers, and getting photocopying paper and having to get donation for photocopying machine and all the things. Why are we not more? Why are we not holding our government more accountable in terms of seeking to channel the energy and the funding into education? Because you just highlighted a moment ago as well that they find money for cultural armor and they would find money for other things. So why aren't they? finding money to zoom in on education if education is so important?
Yeah, son. There's a forum going on in Syncit. I think sometime, I'm not sure if it's sometime this week it started, or last week on sustainability and food and stuff like that. But and I was told, well, someone from Nevis was there, but they were saying they didn't remember seeing anyone from the Ministry of Agriculture and stuff like that, any minister, any representative from Nevis. So they say, so they wonder how can something about sustainability and food and some big seminar going on. I'm not sure if it's at the Marriott or where it's skipping, but I hear nothing about it in the news either. So when he tell me about it, I was in shock. You should remember then he said something, he said a Caucasian gentleman who was doing a presentation. He said, it's one thing you all are good for, boy. You all talk things to death. You see? You left to talk. You didn't talk it, take your son. Let the work be seen. So you have a Caucasian man coming in your hometown and tell a whole group of people, professionals, you all have a lot of great ideas where you all talk them to death. You see a school can build, you see a smart home, you see only 600 homes can build, we have to talk and BS our own people. Meaning in that. You see, those are the traditional politics. Meaning in that. You either do or you don't. Simple as that. If I tell you to do something, my work get 100% guaranteed. That's it, your son. You how a Caucasian, the white, I don't use the word white, because white is not a race. You see, and nobody white. If you say, well, redneck, can you vex you turn red, I turn blue, well, I understand that. So, let me stick to the original thing, Caucasian. He said, there's one thing you guys are good for. And I can imagine him telling them, so, yes, you're not very good at talking. Yes, but you'll talk things to death. That's it. There should be a shame. I'm telling you, and this was somebody who was already telling me this, he's a boy I feel bad. Because we keep starting saying these things. That's okay. We promote failures, their son. So to hear it from someone who is not of their race as a virgin, that's how they look at us. They know how we stay. So when they see some of us who are serious about doing things, they want to partner with you because they realize, well, they're different. They also know, man, they're different. They're kind of these are different. These are irregular. You see, and those are few. Tell me, anyone cross me, they say you're different. Me not different. Me understand myself. You see, me not go with the crowd. I being true to myself. I know my capabilities. Me not about what I'm saying, this and that have nothing to do with whether you pray and say me things going to go, You pray have nothing to do with things not going. You see what I mean? I'm not in that train of thoughts. So when a man come and tell you you have great ideas, but you all love to talk things to death. They couldn't say nothing. And they're going to forget that.
You see, Banky, it's sad that somebody had to come and say that, especially knowing that we have been saying this, because I keep saying, especially where agriculture is concerned, if it's one thing, they would have a lovely fancy speech, great oratory skills in terms of putting over whatever it is for the issue or for the occasion, whether it's World Food Day, Arbor Day, whatever, like they were celebrating Awareness Month. They will have some nice fancy speeches and so on to suit the occasion. But in terms of putting the money where the mouth is, it becomes a whole different story. And it's sad. It's sad that people who are willing to invest in the country and willing to invest in projects can come to a seminar, witness, and then be able to provide that kind of feedback. It is disappointing. Really disappointing.
No, okay. I've been to so much workshops and training. I remember at this workshop it was horticulture and soilless. Greenhouse and soilless culture, horticulture, something like that. And the presenter, he's a guru when it comes to hydroponic system and stuff like that. He wrote the book and he do consultation for lawyers and big companies and stuff like that. And he looked down at the card at the time the event was up at the UE site of the UE campus and stuff like that. And then he looked down at the port. He said, "You all should be ashamed of yourself." And he's a professor at the UC Davis in California. You know, so I have all this context. He
That's
said,
the workshop you went on?
I'm not sure if he was on that workshop too. Maybe if he was at the same workshop. The time that Timothy was the Minister of Agriculture. You understand?
I think he was on that same workshop. But anyway, go ahead.
Maybe, probably, if it probably. And he said, in no way those containers supposed to go out empty. They're supposed to go down, load down with food, going back to the US, load down. He said, any one of you who are serious, I'm willing to invest because can't lose. And not up to now, not one container go full of lettuce, full of banana. There are people who call me from the States and want, and they ask, can I get some banana, watermelon, and yam, and potatoes, and tomatoes, and pumpkin? And I say, like, well, how much you want, so? A 40-foot container each every week. I say, okay, then, all right, impossible. You're crazy. That is what people want stuff from cities and navies every week because they have trains of supermarket trains throughout the United States. So the food that you see, I was partnering Southern University to and with the US the FDA department because they want to come. These people are willing to come and train our people to make this specification to ship out food. You know, you just have to ask for these things because the resources are there for training, free money. You see what I mean? Because food is something that they understand the quality of food that come from the Caribbean, these parts, you know. And they understand the Caribbean community that is in those places. So it's all about economics and partnering. You see what I mean? Because you can still benefit the American businesses they care about anyway. So they understand economics and keep their workers going. So it's just to ask for these things, Virgin. Nothing is complicated, you know. It's just choices, you know. Because man in the system. You see? So people over, it's not like things not happen. Things happen when they say interest. Otherwise, it just don't happen. It's just simple as that. I don't make excuses and I understand how the system works. I work with different government, different PS, so I know who's serious or who is serious. Different ministers, I've seen it. You see what I mean? I've seen it. So it's not like nobody can tell me this and I go through all different departments and stuff like that. So I understand how the government system works. You always work the same way. So it's not like they can't say, I don't know what I'm saying. You see what I mean? I understand it.
So, talking about understanding the government and how the government system works, on the ground there in St. Kitts, I'm seeing some movements on the political front. We would have seen recently the People's Action Movement would have had their convention and election of representatives, and as a result, we would have seen at least two new faces. Well, we shouldn't say new in one sense, because
Yes.
Azad Gums is not necessarily a new person in terms of being a candidate. Yes, a new face as a candidate. So he has been successful in about to run for constituency number 4, I think, and then we have Nubian Griot, who was formerly PLP, People's Labour Party, and ran under the PLP ticket, has now been given the nod by the People's Action Movement PAM Party as the person to run for constituency number 2 in Bastille. And that has spurred and stirred a lot of debates and conversations on the ground there on St. Kitts and Nevis. I would have gotten an opportunity to listen to him earlier on today on another radio program, facing the public and facing some of the questions and so on. What are your thoughts on that, Banky, in terms of that twist, in terms of the political um, wranglings on the ground on St. Kitts and Nevis?
In these times, as you realize, when you have convention and different stuff like that, there was a time 30 years ago, they would say, boy, me and you crazy, and we talking about one Babylon system and the system. But now, people's eyes are open. They realize there is a system. There is systems. You see, that's why less people are going to these conventions. Less people they expect anything from politicians. They see the politicians join together. They hear the former prime minister say, I would never leave Labour because Labour, I come from the bosom of Labour and Bratcher. And the next day, it crashed the floor. You see what I mean? You see all kind of things. You see who they are fighting against. You see it. You see what I mean? People sit by this really system. My 26-year-old, I have to sit and raise with she. They tell everything how everything run. My 15-year-old, the overs, they're in high school and understand how the school system works and everything passed down to this and to that. So that's why they're using a different mentality, because they are awakened. Virgin, once your eyes have been this car have been pulled over your eye, off your eyes, and you can see the world in a different perspective. As I tell you, these churches are going to be empty, Nobody getting in, they want to turn into Africans asking a different stuff, because you cannot kind people all the time, Virgin. We are not designed to be here for just a work. We're gonna give certain people money all the time, And then you all be full of stress, and then everything you stress and put a disease on it, and pay upon medication and all this different stuff. You see what I mean? If you have a high blood pressure, take high blood pressure pills till you're dead. And so every month you spend $40. Instead to change how you eat, exercise, cut off this, they put on pressure tablet. So if you miss one, it should in our work. So it's you see what I mean? So you can't miss none. And you take all these pills. My children have seen it and you them see it. So if we were saved, so the world now is changing. And that's where you see what's going on in Africa. In our stop, in trickle right down into these places. That's where you see they don't want to talk about what's happening, because your son, if you can build a road for $40 million, if you can just give a man a job to build a job plan to build a hospital, you cannot job a plan to design a hospital, but young still. You know that. You know that. You don't know. Of course, and the man know he cannot design a hospital. He know that, your son. So if you ask the man I want to wire my house, me not electrician. You understand? Me not be can't praise the job. But yeah, man, the problem are the same things. You see the system, the people see these things, it's a plain with brethren. So what's going to happen? So what's going on here? Yes.
If I know that it's not transparent, that system is not transparent, and chances of people really finding out what's happening is very slim, because the people are not necessarily seeking to hold us accountable for what we are doing. And chances are we can get away with it, because we have been getting away with it for all these years. I mean, why not try to take the chance?
But Virgin, remember, we as human, don't lose yourself. We live long, Virgin, so 20 years is short. We were just in high school the other day, Virgin. 30 years have passed, boom. You see what I mean? In the next 11 years, we done 60. You see? So that is why when we think we now get catch up, time will always catch up with us. And that's why a generation don't come with children are grown. So they see things totally different to how we see things. We can't afford them anymore. They have access to technology in their hand. They have everything going out with information. So things that we don't have access to, they don't have to read it. They'll just see it on a video and just listen to it and see it and explain things about the Bible and this religion and that religion. So it's difficult to fool people in this time. So what's going to happen? People got so the situation will be an
difficult.
He would expect that people ask questions. Well, you're with PLP. Those are normal Christian people to ask, because first thing people figure, well, someone say, well, why you really want to get into power, or you really want this? People have different views or whatever. You understand? So it's just how it is. Because once you play seven, people are gonna question you about different stuff. Whatever the reason is, he have a way to change his mind. That's you can't take that from no human being. If they want to change their mind for whatever reason and stuff like that, that's fine. You see what I mean? But you know you're gonna get beat up. People are gonna ask questions and they're gonna hold it against you all the time. Because people are personal when it comes to politics and religion and stuff like that. You can't take that out of it because a lot of people benefit from these things. So then once you're partying for your own life for your party, so you don't see this honesty right there. You see? But those things are
So
changing, yes, and people are not like that no more. People are changing. People are really not
so
moving away from these. Yes.
do you think that people are now becoming a bit more um, conscious of the the individuals who are seeking to represent them versus more so a party?
Of
And
course.
if
Yes, sir.
that is the case, if that is the case, you think that it opens up more space for people like yourself who is seeking to hop in on the independent ticket, so to speak. Looking at what is happening in the atmosphere and how things are, and based on the comment that you made a while ago in relation to people are wisening up and people knowing what's going on and people they can't continue to fool people anymore. You feel like there are a need, so to speak, for more independent candidate like yourself to step up to the plate and you think you all will get that kind of traction?
Confident. After a while, once you understand life and how the universe works, which I have understood it and perfected it, so I can confidently say I know it's gonna happen. You see what I mean? Yes, and you can look around you and see yes and see people are seeing things what it is. You see what I mean? 99% of the people I speak to, they say, yeah, all them are the same thing. We fill up of them, they to tea, they to this, they to that. And the 1%, me stand, when me know you stand, me know what that mean. We all stand up. But when I understand what that means, the blue, or the green, or the one dead with a casket turn blue, play blue or green. But not the
Hmm.
politicians have not do that. It shows how those who dedicate themselves so much to being brainwashed, I will never leave this barricade. Virgin, your job is to do your work. Do your work and stop acting like you bet your job doing what you did is better than somebody else. No, that's how you go. You do your work and don't boast about the work that you do. As to can you work is your job was got here to do what is right, put legislation in place that benefit others, especially the indigenous people. That's your first priority. You understand? My thing is every citizen, that every native have a right to own at least 5,000 square feet of land, and this land here are 7,000 square feet, or whatever number quarter acre. It doesn't matter to me. They have a right to own that, my virgin. Have a right for that. It's too much we ancestors been through. And then our own people now who is enslaving us. Our issue is not our issue ourselves, virgin. My issue is not no Caucasian and no Indian and no this, Kind of them running the government, virgin. I'm not worrying about stuff like that. I'm worried about the man who look like me. He is my enemy. That's the problem. I accept that. I see that every day. So no one can come and tell my mind and tell me how to think. Are my children and them because they have free to think and see things what it is. I see things what it is, virgin. Or the new enslaver is the man who look like me. Okay, that's what it is. That's just what it is, and that's through the whole Caribbean, my virgin, and through anywhere because they continue in the same colonial system. Get rich, fill up their pocket, feed the people in what they want, left them in poor conditions, and don't care them and they control all the money, get all the big jobs, whatever, and slow up the lands. And the same thing with cannabis, where we're gonna plant it in the air, we're gonna plant it out in the sea water, on a boat. I don't want land the same way. A real estate, same thing. Who I don't give license to, who you gonna vet? They don't want to plant all in a greenhouse or in a building you can't plant none outside in the field. Well, who gonna get 5 acres or 3 acres of greenhouses? What do you think of them? Medina, Spain? I grow tomato in hydroponics in greenhouses. We go about in a space and say greenhouses 12.5 acres or 10 acres, all greenhouses like in Morocco. And I may drive for 6 hours and all may see greenhouses covering over thousands of acreage of land. And I say, well, that's not for locals. That's for outsiders. Somebody has to get a business set up and need a lawyer, and then they need real estate, then so they get land sold. So you see the domino effect. That's how the people sitting with Virgin. Somebody gonna get a job to cut the grass, or somebody get a job, the people are sitting to what it is. So those who still holding on the labor side and the palm side and this side, this thing not work forever with Virgin. It's time for the people to benefit resources.
You think everybody? You think everybody? A lot of people. Wait. You think everybody? A lot of people things understand things the way you just express it, the way you just explain it, the way you just broke it down.
Everybody is speak to. Everybody is speak to. Everybody, and you know me on the street. My age group and my age above my age speak the same way. Buy them the same thing. I support you. And the next step, by now, me stand. You see? Yeah, me supported everybody the same thing. And the 1%, you know, me stand. That's all it is. I'm supporting you kind of the same thing. Time for change. Because for the part of them. Same thing. Both say, you know, whatever it is, CCM, NRP, PAM, this be the same, yeah, son. Because people are honest with themselves, but then they lose themselves because people know they post, they pray on them. You see, they pray on them. Okay. So it's when people feel it, they shift.
You know, as I listen to some of the things that you propose, right, and are putting forward,
yes,
I think you need to, at this point, begin to seriously consider having some public discussions with maybe the people in your constituency. Organize some programs to really highlight some of the things that you would want, because I think that what some of the things that you're suggesting and your efforts of sort of seeking to help to decolonize the minds of the electorate, I think would go well for you and what you're seeking to do. But you would have to do a bit more to seek to educate your target market. I know you're listening and you're saying, yes, people on the street telling you X and Y, but you'll also need to formalize it. And maybe whether it's town halls or whether have teams and some people hop on and like that, you need to do that. Because it's kind of re-education and paradigm shifting is very important for what we are doing at this time, and also for you and any other person who is thinking of changing the climate
what they do
within our federation.
They want to stay in the mind frame of this two-party thing, NRP or CCM. And whether 30 years ago you had one or two independent party people run here and there, fine, because they've been conditioned to think nothing else is supposed to work and use this native. Oh, one seat can do nothing, but one seat will become the prime minister though. One seat fire 4 or 5, ain't it? So what you're telling me, one man in Africa making a big difference and have other nations rise up. No one man make a difference that they have them the place they don't pray so much a church around here, so the same thing. So what this notion that one seat can make a difference, what they're really talking about is one seat and have NRP fighting against each other because one hold on and one and now move and a demand more. So we gotta be real with ourselves and stop thinking like that. So if we make up these kind of excuses and be blinded, I'm not a person who thinks that I'm a virgin. I was raised to think for yourself. That's how my mom raised us. Think for yourself. You understand? So if I say me now vote this time, me now vote, you now vex with me. I go up my house and do whatever kind of nonsense there and follow. My household not like that. You see what I mean? You always think for yourself. And that's it. You see what I mean? So
and I like no, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No,
finish your point.
Yes, son. What I'm trying to show you, rule number one, as a human, you must ask yourself 3 questions. Who am I? What am I doing here? And what is my purpose? If you can't figure out them 3 things there, then you just be living to please other people. Because masses will live their life and never find their true selves. Because they're just living a life all their life to please, to fit into a society that don't really care about them and stuff like that. So it's very important to look into the mirror every day, examine every part of your body, and ask, well, who can make this body here? Once you understand you're divine and you have the intuition and the power to shift energy and everything around that you can see and feel and touch, you're part of. You don't need nobody come talk to you until about nothing. So if me out the plant by myself on a farm, make a whole wickedness pan me and so don't have nothing to do with me gonna still have my potato, me still have my melon. You understand? Me about things like that. You go try anything you want over the fence. Have nothing to do with me. I'm chanted because I almost every day people work in the rituals. They go to the Seventh Adventist church, they go to the Catholic church, a pure rituals they go around here. But they don't see it as ritual. What they should do, they call themselves when they're in the Sunday time, jumping up and stamping up and running here and there. And sound the pocket and say, well, they know all about it. So I'm going to boy, I publish it myself. You will see it, my virgin. And also, it's rituals, it's who you are. But then you don't see it that way. But you want to call something else out of the way, but do what you're doing. You think, and that's how you go. It's all rituals. Every day, I overdose these things. So I'm one of those person who are not a problem when you come to engage people when it comes to spirituality or religion. I'm not running from it. You see, I don't run. I'm always engaged people all the years I know myself. So I'm not run. So once you have a discussion, that's fine. But if you can't do discussion, just leave me alone. There's not going to be an argument. You see what I mean? It's just reasoning, and that's all it is. So I'm not into a lot of stuff like that. Yeah.
You made a couple of points there, right? And I think it brings us to a point where we could segue into something that I wanted to get into last week, but we didn't. You mentioned, one man can make a difference, and you went into pointing out how one individual could make a difference, and you're right, because
yes,
here is it. We have seen a lot of examples of that, and the topic that we're going to get into now, as you talk about rituals and so on that people practice. I not last week before, I was going to get into that, but we were not able to get into an edition of the topics. But I bumped into this discussion in Jamaica, and it has to do with citizen taking the government and the Attorney General to court in terms of seeking to maintain the voodoo or Obia laws on the books in Jamaica. And in his presentation, some of the things that you pointed out in terms of things that are being done in the church and so on, that they don't want to deem as spiritual or ritual practices and so on, but they would deem other practices as such.
Of course.
And it went into explaining some of the rationales behind seeking to ban and or prohibit and criminalize some of our what is considered traditional practices. And it's because they were seeking to fight and suppress as much as possible anything that was a part of our heritage, anything that was African, anything that has to do with us, they sought to get rid of it. And so it was quite interesting and informative listening to the exchange. Now, one of the things also highlighted was the fact that years ago, even a little island like Anguilla would have went and taken it off the books. And they gave the rationale for countries like Anguilla and Montserrat, which are still under British rule. Here is it. One of the things that the lawyer is arguing is that who were the ones who put it on the books of their colonial territories? They were forced to take it off of their books. And so all who were under the ruling, like Anguilla is still under Britain, and Montserrat, and I think maybe the BVI as well, they also changed it on their books. So here is it. Britain don't take it off of the books. And we, St. Kitts and Nevis is included in the countries that still have it on the books. And Jamaica and some other countries. So it is interesting to hear this. And I think it is going to set the precedence for cases in the region. So I think it is kind of instructive that we take a listen and we can then weigh in on our views and opinions where the discussion is concerned. So I share a bit of it, and then we can, have some feedback on it.
Hopefully next week Sunday, the attorney on the case representing Professor Hutton is none other than attorney at law Bert Samuels. You know him very well. He's a leading voice in Caribbean jurisprudence. He is a scholar of Pan-African rights. For his clarity, he's known for his commitment to decolonization through the law. This is what Bert Samuels is doing. He's back on the line to give us an update. This was filed, it was done, and then there were other things to be done. We're going to be getting this update from an African attorney at law, Bert Samuels. Good morning, Mr. Bert Samuels, an African attorney at law, sir.
Greetings to you and your listeners to the four corners of the earth.
Thank you so much for taking the time, Bert. Let me say, first of all, happy belated solar return. That just went a few days ago.
71 strong.
There you go. We're Taurians together. I'm the 11th and you're...
Warriors.
There you go.
Tachi.
We are the children of Chief Tachi. So, in terms of the update, because last time we spoke, Bert, what had happened is that, okay, so this was this was filed, right? And the next thing that was due to be done was to hand or to send the move the case another step, right? Which was to get this to the Attorney General.
That's right.
Right. So tell us where we are now.
As promised to you and your listeners, we filed as promised. We're going to serve the Attorney General. We did so on Monday morning. And now we are waiting his response. We haven't gotten a date as yet. I did share with you a copy of a letter written to the Registrar of the Supreme Court that this is a matter of great national importance. And therefore we're asking for an early date. We hope that the Registrar will find that date. So the update is the Attorney General has been served. And further research has shown other things about other Caribbean territories which have taken it off the book, which makes a contradiction of, our own history so profound, that we are moving in one direction, other things are pulling in another direction. So I just wanted to say that there is a conference on revivalism on Wednesday this week, which deals with African spirituality, because UNESCO has, recognized that the cultural heritage of mankind for revivalism, and that was in December of last year. So on the one hand, our culture is being put up and preserved at an international level and recognized by UNESCO. And among our own people here, there are some of us who feel that, to remove the Obia law would bring fire and brimstone on our people. So that's, the miseducation and the white supremacy theology is very strong down here.
Mm-hmm. All right, so a few things you have raised there, and I want to go through all of them. One, which first is to say, so a letter has also been sent to remind us who the letter was written to.
To the Registrar of the Supreme Court, who sets dates for cases, that this is a matter of great public importance. And we want to go ahead of the line and get the early date. So I'm waiting on the response from the registrar. Several lawyers have seen me, several persons, and Anglican priests call me welcoming the move, but some people have to be quiet. They can't put their heads out. And many people on the streets have seen me and say, you go. Clinton has been articulate about it. He has spoken publicly about the fact that he's taking this action. And we have a son of the soil who has written our history, being the claimant and being the expert that will testify before the court about, the suppression of our spirituality.
When are you, and I know you're waiting on the response from the registrar, but when would you like to see this?
Well, the court sits in term. So we are now in the third week of May. fourth week rather. We're hoping that the term ends just the same time as school. So come the end of July, the term will end. We want it this term, right? We can't, demand it, but that's why I wrote that letter, and I hope that registrar will give us the matter be heard in this term. So this term goes right up to the end of July. So within the next 2 months, I should hope we have the first hearing. At the first hearing, we will find out from the Attorney General whether he will oppose it or he will support it. And I'm hoping that he will support this because there's no alternative for any progressive mind, in my humble opinion.
Another thing you mentioned, of course, is that there within the Caribbean, and this is what our listeners probably need to know in terms of how we contextualize this, that the act, this colonial law, which is the Obeah Act, that it was not just in Jamaica. It was because this is how colonization and colonialism works. That it was across the Caribbean. This act that criminalized the way African people practice their spiritual traditions, and so it was also in other countries. But those other, quite a few of these other Caribbean countries have gone out way ahead of Jamaica. Have already repealed the act in those countries. Tell us about that, Bert.
Yeah, so I agree with the list. The list is 5 countries. Anguilla did it in 1980, 45 years ago, 1980. Barbados did it in 1998. That's pretty long ago. That's 27 years, 28 years ago. Trinidad did it in 2000, 25 years ago. St. Lucia did it in 2004, 21 years ago. Montserrat did it in 1983. And the British Virgin Islands did it in 1997. And part of the contradiction is that the British territories, because some of those territories are still British owned, because in Britain itself, it could not keep up a law like this. It had to cause its own territories to repeal those laws. So this is a contradiction where we have, the colonizers putting away something whilst we are still wearing their old clothes down here and trying to maintain the old clothes laws. Explain that contradiction from his
inexplicable. And there was another consideration too, because when we have this other Caribbean countries that have done this for so long without any great fanfare.
And no fire and brimstone.
And no fire and brimstone. Here we have in Jamaica, while there is so much support for the move that is being made by Professor Clinton Hutton and you as the attorney, and for those of us who support this and are deeply involved in the process, that we still have here in Jamaica, in a lot of spaces, this opposition to repealing this act. That is what and I'm wondering the extent to which part of this has to do with just ignorance of the context of this, and also that this has happened in other Caribbean countries, and what the outcomes were.
That is so, and you wonder why the resistance. And I tell you this, Clinton and I had a serious joke. He said, Bert, it's funny, the politicians are afraid of the demographic that will say, I'm not voting for you. So they are happy that the Pan-Africanists are doing the work for them. Yes, and we're proud to take on this great work, So the politicians, okay, you don't want people who don't believe it, that it should be repealed, not to vote for you. But we, the Pan-Africanists, think that we will be with the truth and bring this, we are not politically influenced by any party politics.
Yes.
And that's part of what's destroying our country. So people have to be looking over their shoulders to do the right thing.
For those who didn't hear you last week and haven't been following this closely, remind our listeners of the main areas, the constitutionally, that impacts on this case that you brought again.
That's right. So remember, historically, after Taki's rebellion, they called Taki Obeah man, and the first Obeah law came the year after his uprising. So there's a context for Obeah law. The last Obeah law was that we are now challenging is 1898. We went to court, we looked at several sections, it has 12 sections, we found 11 breaches of the Constitution and the rights. First is Section 17 of the Constitution, which gives the rights to religious practice. Then we have a right of association, because people who go to the Obeah man, the clients of the Obeah man, also can be sent to prison. Then we went to cruel and inhuman punishment, because the Obeah man cannot get a fine. One of the few laws in which you are found guilty of, and there is no fine. You have to go to prison. And then we have the instrument of Obeah being criminalized. And we said, listen, the Catholic Church swings their vessels with smokes emitting from it, and they have the chalice from which they drink the blood of Christ. So there are a lot of instruments in other religious groups which are not criminalized, but the Obeah man's instruments are criminalized. And there are several sections. If you publish anything supporting Obeah, they say that that publication makes you criminally liable. Yet we have on television every Sunday night advertising their spirituality, their fortune telling, their reading of the palm. They are not punished. So we have that there is no equality before the law. And look at this, Kabu. 98% African Jamaican, and a minority can do something that we can't do. Isn't that horrible?
It is a reality of Jamaica. Bertrand, I hear you chuckle at that, because I know you must have come up on this through the course of your life. You've been an advocate for justice for so long, using through the law, legal channels, that this is our own particular reality here on the islands.
You know what struck me recently, Tabu? When they indoctrinated us during slavery and used the Bible to say that we were, we deserve slavery because we sinned and we're black and black people are evil. Then they said that they brought spirituality in it. They said, listen, there's a heaven up there. And if we just behave ourselves here and submit to slavery, one day we go to this great place called heaven, which is spirituality. That's their Christian spirituality, enslaving us with that. And when we want to preserve our sanity and practice our spirituality, they say it is illegal. Isn't that contradiction and, that hate coming out and using the Bible to spread hate? And some ministers have even preached against me. Someone heard a particular Christian pastor praying that there's lightning and brimstone is going to come upon me.
And you heard Samuels?
Yes, he said the lawyer is challenging this.
We rebuke that. Hang on. We rebuke, hang on, because I'm talking now from the ancestors. We rebuke that and send it right back to him. Go ahead, Bert.
Yes. So he's bringing violence upon me. And when you hear, I was on a talk show with some pastors, and at the end of it, you would think two things. One, that Obeah is worse than slavery. And two, that a lot of the problems in Jamaica is Obeah related. Because I said to him, he said, we're wrestling not against spirit, but flesh and blood, but spirit. And that's not to the scripture. I said to him,
principalities and powers, spiritual wickedness in high places.
Yes, thank you. And I said, but the flesh and blood that you're not going against. This is the gunman in Jamaica. You're not coming here to talk about gun violence. You come and talk about Obeah violence. That's what you're targeting.
Well, I did an extensive investigative journalism research on Obeah in the early 1990s, where I went to every single so-called Obeah man in Jamaica, and I did an extensive program on that ran for almost a year. And what I found, the common theme and the common thread through all of that, is that the people who visit or frequent the Obeah men more than anybody else in Jamaica are people out of the charismatic churches, the Pentecostal churches, the Church of God, the Seventh Day, the charismatic churches, and then on the other hand, the private sector. So this is something that is weaponized, and they know they're weaponizing this, and this is why you have this outcry, because it is what it is, and we deal with the issues of things. It's going to be what it is going to be. Let us see how the law just pull the thread on this and opens it. Yes. So
I did an interview with Anguilla Radio called me about it because they've long thrown it out for 45 years.
Yes.
So I did an interview from Anguilla, and other Caribbean churches have been writing to the attorneys wanting to see, Guyana is about to do it too. Yes. It has not yet done it, but the debate is on. So it's a cane field. I also say to you, let's light the cane field, man.
Well, that's that, and we have to do today's African Liberation Day, and when you talk about liberation, what does it really mean? What does it look like? We first have to liberate our minds from slavery and cognitive dissonance and ignorance. So that one of the first thing to do is to open our minds to the fact that we have been traumatized as a post-traumatic slavery disorder, that our history, our name our ways of worship, our spirituality, everything that we brought with us from the continent of Africa, or that our ancestors, that was hidden out of us.
Yeah, but Cabo, there are people who don't know that before the white man came to Africa, our doctors were attending to us. Remember, our doctors were attending to us. Our therapists were attending to us, and the Obeah man is a therapist. So we go on the western side and pay a therapist to go, to tell us our mental problems. We had to go 400 years of slavery. We couldn't do that without therapy. We couldn't do that without therapy.
And this is why, for those who really over time,
Banky, we can continue with that, but I just wanted to get that's the most significant parts of the discussion and the interview, and I just really wanted to be able to bring it to the platform so that we can have a discussion on it as well, because a lot of these things, as he mentioned, as well, both of them mentioned, Guyana is seeking to do something about it. Anguilla would have made steps and made some changes. And so if this is happening in Jamaica and other Caribbean territories are waking up, then also we here on St. Kitts and Nevis need to step up. One of the things that is interesting is the point that he highlighted, that a lot of politicians wouldn't want to take it up because they would fear that the people would not want to vote for them, because they would be like, oh yeah, let's support Obeah, you try to support Obeah and so on. So they fear the pushback. So they prefer to have people like them who are Pan-Africanists push the agenda, even though he's saying that he don't have a problem being the ones pushing the agenda. So quite interesting, your feedback and what you would have heard.
I started off earlier, Yasan, saying as an individual, as a human, we're supposed to question ourselves when it comes to three things: who we are, why we are here, and our purpose. You also must, as a human, must understand the mineral domain, the human domain, the plant domain, the ecology around you, and the universe, everything the eye can see. Because if you understand these things, you'll understand how to live. You see what I mean? So everything, when people come on the farm, especially the Caucasian, everything they see is rituals, because I understand the plants, because the plant is what is used to heal. So, and if somebody have kidney stones, unless we'll use the seed under and stuff like that, they see me as a medicinal man, so I will be an Obeah man too, a voodoo man, however they want to call it. Because you got to understand nature and how energy moves and all this different stuff, and understand the environment you're in. Can Obeah really mean love, but they don't see it. Everything you're taught to hate yourself. The TV you turn on, you see yourself as flies in the nose, as somebody who is full of malnutrition, high stomach, a little child who look like me in dirty clothes and all this different stuff. You see what I mean? It's just a stereotype that has been put over there, but those things have gone. In places in Haiti, it's just like when you hear stories about the Christina boat, and here on the boat, you hear they say, oh, a spirit come on the boat, and spirit sink the boat, on stories, and people also come from a single come up to Nevis to see the Obeah man. When Nevis was having over 1,000 Obeah man. I grew up in Colorado, where everybody around me, or that an Obeah person. People who look after me as a youth growing up, you understand? So whenever one of these all the folks are saying, I just see this spirit that walk across here at night time and sit down under the tree, the sun, wherever. May you have hear the kind of stories there, You understand? Them you have to let them walk go window enough so you don't there's racket. You see what I mean? Speed can only have one light per one post in the village, So if a bird from jump out of the tree. This is just, but you understand these things. So you when you hear these things, you realize, but wait, how these people get to see these things and how they get to understand. You must understand your environment. So as you're seeing these things, hearing these things, I understand life and the powers of the human being.
It brings a totally different perspective into play, because and this is why I guess knowledge is important, and being truly educated is important, because a lot of us would have grown up hearing our people fight against these things, Obi and voodoo, and the saying it's so bad and so terrible and it's evil and all of these things that have been associated with some of these things for us growing up. And as you spoke there and you talk about Obi, you said something, I don't remember exactly what you said, but my mind ran on English, right? And this is some of the things that English was seeking to do in terms of helping to decolonize our minds. And back then, a lot of us might have think that he was crazy. Like, well, you call your child Obi and you could, you know what I mean? And, you know, and how, you know, but he was being revolutionary to the system in his way. Using that one man method. Right. But using that one man method. Yes. Because he was on a different level. He was able now to express it, but it was just everybody else would think that he was crazy or he's crazy, but he was able still to express it in a way that now, as we who grow older, would realize no, by nothing wrong with what the man was doing, but back then to us, it might have been a way because of how we would have been programmed. So what the case is bringing out.
Like for instance, I hear some of the biggest, baddest blogger, Obi. Is Obi? They say it's Obi he name it, but they don't understand Obi mean love. So they don't get your word for that. So it is to show you the mind frame. You see what I mean? But those who get up every day and Saturdays and different stuff, and as you hear the gentleman say, the people in our society, those are who still go and see the person and stuff like that. The everyday people see who driving a taxi and doing this. Is not me go see somebody like that. You see what I mean? Is the church goers? Is the people in the bank? Is the everyday people? You see what I mean? Jump on a board, we'll go to send. When you turn on the TV and you see WhatsApp going around, how much these people see on those big conference, say somebody do them something and ask me something. So you see people from and left here and go up on plane, go to Miami and all the places there and go to a convention with thousands of people and say people are doing all kind of things. We live in a society that is in denial with virgin. You hear me speak all the time. I want to end up in this school in town. And when I see custom got the amount of book and literature and different stuff and witchcraft and OB and terror card reading that I take confiscate from people. Yes, on me talk about a whole thing full of container, 20-foot container, stuff, You see what I mean?
But
it's our society.
That brings into focus another discussion, because we are still in that state here on St. Kitts and Nevis where certain books are still banned, and the books and all of this is part of what we are talking about here, what the case is highlighting, because the case is highlighting that the suppression of these spiritual doctrines had a lot to do with racism and colonialism, and in an effort to help to, as much as possible, keep us away from anything Africa, anything that would have helped us to stay connected to our roots.
So when they're praying and they go to Africa, who do I pray to? When they're trying to invoke, when they're trying to manifest, then they're praying to themselves, they're speaking to themselves. Who do I speak to? They don't speak to themselves. But who you speak to? Are we truly do? What are we truly do? That's what they're doing. But they just don't see these things with virgin. You see, that's just it.
No. When they go to Africa, they don't speak, Hold on, Banky. It's not that they don't speak, They have started to formalize theirs and make theirs be what we should hold on and enforce that we do, and then suppress anything else, and then make sure by banning the books and so on that we don't get exposed to any other knowledge that will cause us to want to shift from that which they're seeking to program inside of us. Because you got to remember, if the end game is to still keep us enslaved,
let me ask you a question.
The game was to stay the mind.
A simple question: you ever drink milk and honey? You ever drink milk and honey?
If I ever drink milk and honey, yeah. It tastes nice.
How it is? Okay, so why people don't drink it after if they don't wait till they go to heaven to drink milk and honey, but they not drink it here? Well, how come that's not a delicacy here? They should be serving in all the shop and all the restaurant. You understand? In these Christian communities, milk and honey, that is the closest thing. to heaven, ain't it? So where so the honey here. Well, where the honey gonna which part? Yeah, let's me to show you. So why didn't I use it here then? Where the drink wine and grape and all the different stuff and wherever it is? It's rituals. You see, but people don't have don't want to have the discussion because people get personal and all these things they can't reason, brethren. That's what it is.
Yeah,
And then they're fighting against the next one and these things. But
but
guy,
we you see this is the thing, and this is why I keep saying this what we are seeking to do here on this platform in terms of the topics, and even what we do in terms of our Everything Agriculture show is to fill that void because that's the reality. In a lot of cases, these topics are not necessarily brought to the table and are not necessarily a part of the regular
they're taboo.
discussions in our
They're taboo.
federation. They're taboo.
They're
And
taboo.
apart from being taboo, we have been
Yes.
programmed right now just be locked into this politics thing and especially the local politics thing. And so if it is not issues surrounding the PAM and Labour and CCM and NRP and PLP and who this and who that and all of these things, it is not of much interest to the people. And the
But
politicians
yeah, done.
are fully aware of
Yes.
that and they continue to fuel that and keep the people in that sort of mind frame. And so these kind of topics and discussions are not necessarily sexy. You're not going to see the 400 people and the 1,000 people and 3,000 people and so follow this. But if we were talking about the politics, I guarantee you, we would have flood out. But that's it.
We,
But we still have to do what we need to do because we have to be, even if we had that one voice out there in the wilderness, right? We have to be that voice.
I understand that I know this is the month of music festival. I know last year they had Buju, and then now they have Vibes Cartel is on the itinerary. And from what I'm made to understand, he was paid 500,000 US. I'm starting to be corrected, which come around to about 1.3,550,000 dollars. So call it $1.4 million. Just only to so 500,000 US. But I think the man, I mean,
What you
with the kind
say?
of crowd that he gonna put. Well, who's saying what?
What you say? What are you
He should be
saying?
getting paid
I
a
think I
million.
think you I think you're mixing up your figures,
Which your figures be?
I think you're mixing up your figures because
Because you hear.
from 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 what I am gathering, right?
Yes.
In the Trinidad show,
Me know what Navy is,
hold on, hold on. In the Trinidad
Uh-huh.
show, Vice Cartel was
Yeah.
supposed to be paid 1.3 million US.
But the crowd, the
So
venue have a different crowd. Population of the pricing. That's the price, the crowd, the crowd, the venue, how much you hold and stuff like that. That's how those people price those jobs. I'm not sure the venue must be bigger than Sink is a venue, so that's how it's gonna be.
well, okay, well I don't. So let me not speak them because I was seeing and hearing other figures in
No club
relation
that
to.
you never charge $1 million like that. You see what I mean? Might charge a couple hundred thousand. You see what I mean? The venue space don't ask those kind of things when it comes to those kind of contracts and stuff like that. The expectations and so that is how the prices go. From my understanding,
That
who've been around for most.
you see that issue is interesting and it's going to stimulate a lot of discussions around the region,
Yes.
where music and artists and the business is concerned, and especially now for governments involved
Yeah.
in these kind of activities, the transparency is going to be critical because now a lot of this only came out because of what happened. Usually, in most of these contracts, they have NDAs and so on where you can't disclose certain information and so on, and people will be able to take legal action for you to put out. So we don't even know if that is
Mm-hmm.
going to be the case in Trinidad because we would have heard that the foreign minister would have already started an investigation as to find out how so much of US dollars could have been moved within that kind of time frame within Trinidad at that time. So it brings into perspective a whole other thing, because with St. Kitts and Nevis now, yes, he's on the roster. He's already booked for the St. Kitts and Nevis Music Festival. We don't know how much he's really going to be paid. Should the masses really do have any inputs into these kinds of things, or should we still just allow these
Oh, the
events to
one.
be
What do you
continued?
mean? That's what the one cartel. We're talking about just on the one. People come from Antigua. People don't call me since up in January to
No,
start
no, 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 no. I am
move.
not. Hold on,
Oh,
hold on. I am not necessarily asking that question in relation to the specific case of cartel. I am
in
speaking
general,
in general. Yes, because
yes.
like okay, I am thinking. I remember a couple of years ago. I haven't seen it in more recent times, but a couple of years back, like months before the music fest, you would have seen like certain what they call them polls put out where they ask the
Mm-hmm.
public try to get feedback from the public in terms of who artists they should bring, right? Now at the end of
Yes.
the day, they could still choose who they want to choose, but at least the people would feel more comfortable. So it's things like that that I'm talking about, where you start to seek to get the involvement of the people versus just doing something for them and then they just have to accept whatever it is you bring, and then they have to pay for it in the end, because events like music festival and culturama are not necessarily and carnival are not necessarily revenue generating activities for the government, so to speak, how they're structured. It's more seeking to give back, giving back something to the people. You work hard all year. In the case of carnival, it would have been like a crop over kind of festival after the harvest. You all have a big party and whatever it is and enjoy all yourself, right? So since it is the people who is still going to have to foot the bill, then the involvement of the people in terms of at least trying to have an idea who they want and so on, instead of just throwing them on. But this is something that, apart from the music festival, that we have to really address, because we see things happening in terms of whether it's certain investments that are done on our behalf. We, at the end of the day, in terms of transparency, don't know what these deals and what kind of concessions they give these people. And then when it comes to us now, who the locals or the natives, as you speak about, Banky, are seeking to bring forward our projects and so on, we don't get nothing close to the kind of concessions that are given to some of these foreign investors. And when we do find out about some of these things that they are getting, it is
Right
almost
about
like,
the Christopher Harbour, kind of sold, right? Again, and they
yeah,
talk
well,
about.
things like that. I mean, because that is one of the topics that's on the table right now as well. The sale of the Christoph Harbour and some of the things. And the thing is, Banky, sometimes only get to find out these things when it becomes problematic. Like, for example, we found out about the Nisbet plantation sale and so on after it became an issue in the courts, right? Now, if you're doing things on behalf of the people, and we have similar issues like that, because at the end of the day, um, I think Nevlek had to find their own lawyer to take whoever to court to try to get back their money after the sale was done. So who sometimes really look out for the interests of the people's money in a case when sometimes a lot of concessions were given and a lot of things were given in that case, you're talking about the SIDF money and so on, and but a lot of these things are done under quote unquote secrecy that the public ain't know about. And these are things that should be more in the public domain. And we, the public, need to begin to demand the start of transparency that should be. And until we get to that point, Banky, we are going to continue complaining and they will continue to say, ignore the noise. And they would have a right to, because all we're doing is talking and not necessarily taking the action, because we are still allowing them to play the divide and rule and conquer. And that is why I was saying to you earlier, some things that you say that should be common sense and the people are waking up and seeing what's going on. I am not too convinced when at the end of the day still the thing
Have a
that they
call
should
coming
do to
in.
demonstrate, yeah,
Let me
the
take
thing
this
that they
call.
should do to demonstrate, yeah, take the call, yeah. The thing that they should do to
The caller?
demonstrate what they're doing is at the ballot box.
Yeah, how you guys doing, man?
We good.
Yeah, I'm going to get straight to the point because I just chimed in. If any one of you gentlemen or any one of the listeners want to chime in, I know you guys just mentioned the Crystal Pablo Marina setup. If you guys or anyone listening listening to the Prime Minister's Roundtable today specifically about the Crystal Pablo Marina sale, if anybody got any comments or anything to say about his presentation today in regard to that. Thanks a lot, man. That's it. Straight to the point.
All right, cool. Thanks. You get
Well,
that?
Banky, yeah, I
Yes.
got it, but I honestly did not get to hear all of what he said in relation to that specific deal. I caught the presentation a bit late, and I don't know if you were having the same problem as I was, but to me, the live feed was cutting in and cutting out, and so.
I listen some of it and stuff like that. And as I tell you, son, you put their Mars and they also. I gonna hear BS as it is. If it's BS, it's BS. Me not you butter it up. You ain't gonna tell me. You are gonna go back on 3 years later. You blame Timothy. If you meet a contract and you don't let the contract, you will pull back everything and you negotiate over again. You don't have to leave things how it is. You see what I mean? Me not fall for stuff like that because not when you owe me people money. Remember, you owe me people and you owe me utilities companies money, you know. So when you don't break the contract right there, you see, you not pay your bills and then you want to borrow money from me bank to pay to put on to take up lien that again something else again. But if you come, me not understand that. Me not understand that. Me
Banky,
can't function.
I hear
You know what I
you.
mean?
I hear you.
Yes.
I hear you. However,
Yes.
when it comes to the legalities of some of these contracts, if the person,
Yes, son. Yes,
if the person,
son.
wait, hold on,
Watch.
if the
Yeah,
person
but
who did the contract didn't pay much attention to certain things, you can put yourself in a position where you
we're talking about
feel
we're talking about minds, the doctors, those who have the highest of the highest in PhD when it comes to economics and the highest of the highest. We're talking about. They know what give these people. They know what they're doing. They're giving away the country. So if you come in and make yes and give away the country, me and the new man know. Me not agree with that, brethren. That's everything,
yeah,
especially when I
but
pay the country.
Banky, if you
And
don't get well, see that's the problem.
no,
That's the problem.
come back.
Hold on.
Yeah, watch it.
No,
Watch it.
hold on, Banky, hold on.
Yes.
You see the same scenario here? You see the same scenario that you're using? It's the same
And they said
scenario. Hold on, no.
but
It's the same scenario why it is so important. It is so important. No, hold on. It is so important for us as a people to hold these elected officials accountable.
Yeah,
Because,
we know that. Of course we know that. But they're not doing it, yes, son. That's the whole point.
so see what I'm saying. The reason why I'm saying this is because when they don't go and change a law, it's harder after it don't change to try to fix it than to try to fix it before they put it in place.
What change?
So that's the
When it
same
comes,
argument I'm making. After you don't sign the
yes, son.
contract, it's harder
Yes,
to
son.
break a contract or to repeal the contract than if you didn't put it in place.
And harder. Me not use it. When it come to the country and the indigenous, whatever thing that they put in place and it ain't going against the people, that they void, brethren. That's just how it is. You cannot be making excuses when it come to giving up the citizens, the locals, them the indigenous, where your ancestors them fight for you.
So what if,
and then don't
okay.
in our work. I ain't gonna do
so
the things there. Convince me that. It's just not in my DNA to convince nonsense. You can't work, Virgin, you can't rule them. Yes, these companies not pay the bills. But then break the contract, you not pay your water, your skeleton, you owe this, you owe who you owe, well, they're not part of the agreement, who you owe all these fees. You don't break the contract, Virgin. That's just how it is. You're robbing the citizens. If you're not paying your bills, you're robbing the citizens. Then yet you still have borrowing money, and yet we got 30% share of these things. Brethren, we got to be better than that. We cannot keep coming on the radio saying we're 98% literacy this and literacy that, and have all these doctorates, all these degrees, but yet we be in second class or own. How come our people can't be over Christopher Harbour and live over there too? How come our people can't live on the beach, have beachfront properties? Only once people live on the beachfront properties. That me not understanding things there. Why can't we live on the beach too? What is wrong with that? Why can't the government give local investors and build homes on the beach and we live all across on the beach? Just like how they not building across there could not be homes for locals to live there. So we could not get a house and live by the beach the same way. Why you gotta be catered to certain type of people? Them there is stupidness. We gotta change the mindset there. We gotta change it, brethren. Develop our beachfront for our locals the same way to live there. You understand? That's how it's supposed to be. Not just for once people come in for tourism, own the best, but the locals from the island can't have a beachfront properties the same way, man. We gotta change these things here. I can't see things another way, no, your son. Because I know better. These are poor choices that have been happening to us. Poor choices. Our people is who enslaving us and who robbing us and who putting us against ourselves. That is our problem. Nobody else. And that's the way it is. That's what it is. How come you're talking about you're seeking funding from, but we got money you give away? How you from here and not seek funding outside the money you give away to people who don't look like me and you? Now I did that the same way, and I did have the same way. So how do I get it? And me and you can't get it. Why is that? Why is that? Our own money, you know. You get to all these people, and then soon, you got shares and making excuses. You'll get, well, since 20 years ago, they say you don't make over some kind of billions of dollars. How much you don't make? 20 years later, then you're going to tell me now you make X amount of billions again, and we're going to accept the crap, but we know you're lying to me. You're lying to me, Virgin. That's what it is. Me not make an excuse for myself, so me not make no for a politician, not nobody. Not even me youth and them. They're responsible for when they make when they do choices. That's what it's all about. I'm responsible for when they do make their own choices. So is them. So they're not going to excuse from me. None of them. Because we know better. Me too old to make excuse for people, Virgin. No, not when they're old like me. Dr. Joe old like me. 77 children maybe. We all alike. So it even like he can't me. How you can me? When he in my classes, they're going to go study together. Can me, Virgin? Stop making excuses. So therefore, is all independent. We got to change this whole paradigm shift, Virgin. We are being fooled and being canned. You hear that? You say, but I use the word can now because I realize they're being canned. Telling you so. You see your lady? We can't, Virgin. They're canning us. They're canning us, Virgin. We can't continue. 20 years later, we'll have the same conversation. 20 years later. Because what we're saying now is what we've been saying since we're in high school. And the same conversation still going on. A whole generation don't pass. It's a fact. You hear the children change one comma in the Constitution? Not one since 1983. Not one. So what that says us about a society? What kind of people we are as a society? What that says? 100 days
You
later,
know,
it's gonna be the same then.
as much as I agree with you, right, and what you are saying, here's the point that I was just trying to get across to you. At the end of the day, when it
Yeah.
comes to the when it comes to contracts, and especially this size of contracts that are signed, you have to weigh out in your mind, and depending on how deep whatever bad dealings and things that were not
Now,
dealt with and just with
walk me
didn't work out. No, because see
in a second.
here, no,
You have
hold on, because even in your
yeah,
personal business, even if it is your personal business, it is a choice that you
yes,
would have to make. Whether if you because
yes,
if when you look at the contract that you would have signed or that would have been signed, if you walk out on the contract, it may cost you and your company much more than if you had tried to address or fix or amend whatever it is in the contract than to just totally walk out. So
yes,
that,
and
that
you
is
have
all
contract.
that is all I'm saying. That is all I'm saying in terms
Right?
of
A
so
contract that is in place that is going against the native 1,000%. That is criminal. That is
no, so
criminal,
then
virgin.
that is where the government and their lawyers and their legal team should be and should have been responsible and holding the
Yes.
investors
It
accountable.
was
So
issue.
then
That's the whole
so
point.
then we supposed to hold them their feet to the
Yeah,
fire for not doing what they were
that's
supposed to do and cause the
that's what
investor
that's
to
what I'm
run away
saying.
with whatever, right? Um,
Yes.
so, but at the end of the day now, though, um, it would still be they would still have to weigh out all of these things that maybe the former governments would have done in relation whatever it is. Then now to make a decision for themselves. Now, in
So
the case of like the prison, in the case of like the prison project,
yes.
where the government would have come out and say, okay, it's wrong totally from I. The problem I have there is why continue to sign off and passports in that case when you said that you know that this thing was wrong. So these are the
This
kind
one
of
is
things,
thing. Same
huh?
excuse you hand toy. The same thing you hand toy. The farmer going to do and the same excuse is gonna be your son. These are choices, virgin.
So
So everything is just wrong.
so
You can't with all these facts. You see? That's all it is. Same thing. 5,500 on your
um,
passport, 5,500, and it's underselling, and you still saying that happen when you break the law. Well, it's supposed to be 250,000 minimum, and you got under that, and you still saying that on it. But that makes sense. It don't make sense, Virgin.
so we got a comment here, and I guess this would have been from back with the Vibes Cartel topic. He said
Yes.
he already has a contract for the SK Music Festival estimated at 4 million EC in an effort to enhance a tourism festival, but a failed
4 million.
business effort as it is not a profitable investment year after year. Madness, as Banky would say. Obviously, the government is failing the taxpayers once again. No transparency or accountability is advocated by law. And
That's more than 500.
and this is
That's
what
not 500. That's a million plus. You see?
so that's what I've been telling you. What I was trying to get to you when I went to the Trinidad price, because what I've been hearing
Yeah.
in terms of Sin Kits and Nevis that is 1.5 Sin Kits
Wow.
is paying. That's what I've heard, right? And
Yes.
so when you gave me that figure, that is why I said, okay, well, I don't know. And you were trying to justify the
That's what,
size and all that, but I don't know.
yes.
But what I would have seen in the media was that he is scheduled to get more, even more for the St. Kitts Nevis festival. So that is why I'm saying, in terms of the transparency, um,
Yeah.
like as much as he's a well-wanted artist and so on, and as much as maybe it might go well for tourism and bring people here and what I said, heads in beds and all that. I don't know because we don't know. Do we really get
So why?
a account? of the festival, of the
So
money is made at the end of the festival.
yeah, so why 200 million can put aside for farmers and those in the agri sector to get to our access to as 500,000 for grants and different stuff. And to where is that? Come money there. Where that?
Well, these are some of the things, these are some of the questions that I guess is going to be asked now. And that's what I'm saying. With that case that opened up in Trinidad and Tobago, it has opened up a can of worms. And as a result, a lot of questions are going to be asked, as we move forward. Because then, even in listening to something, I think is Irish Trainer, one of those guys were talking about earlier on today. And they were saying, no, now artists finding out that Cartel is charging $1 million. People who are going to work with Cartel now going to say, well, Cartel charging $1 million. Even if they used to charge 80,000, now they might want to charge 150. The regular man who might charge 50, now might want 75. And so it is going to create a different spin-off in the entertainment industry. And so a lot of these things, and some of it is as a result of, as I said, some of these things in contracts should be NDAs, non-disclosures. People shouldn't really know this kind of information because that is how it is done. In an effort to kind of, suppress some of these things. But how do we deal with this? How are we going to deal with that as a people? Because I would have seen a post earlier on, somebody was saying, well, you can't pay dividend, but you could find, a million to be cut, right?
Well, I don't have the issue with because these guys deserve their picture. They're gonna pull the crowd. They know they're gonna bring people that fly in from all over the place to come see these guys and stuff like that. And it's all about the when it comes to people coming to the country, the airplanes and the beds, as you said, the cutting the heads and all this different stuff, and the economic boost that on the money going to be spent within the country, coming over to navies and going and back and forth and all the rentals and the closing and the events. Definitely, you can't question that the money going to be spent in a sense that they're going to feel the economic, you understand, development when it comes to this kind of stuff, the music festival, without a doubt. So I can't see the money deserve. Because you pay them because the man capability of to bring the crowd. That's just like a boat, you're gonna do it. You see what I mean? So that's fine. But I just want to big up the young lady who was on the show here, Denise Smitten, when it comes to the Heritage Festival. I passed there and big up the host, DJ Willis, did a wonderful job also when it comes to interacting and showing the different vendors and stuff and the product like that. And the event is growing yesterday. I remember that the first event, it was small and it was cool, but no, this time, definitely next year, they have to make up their mind. They run out of bands and stuff like that. So people really loving the event, supporting the event. So it's going towards something like the Mango Festival. So the 3rd anniversary next year, they definitely have to expect and do some different planning and preparation, because they would definitely will get more vendors and stuff like that. Because this year it doubled from 7 to 14, 15. So next year you don't expect to have at least 30 or more. So got to big up Denise and her crew at the community affairs and development and stuff like that. So to doing hosting such an event on Saturday and came out wonderful. So she should be proud of herself and definitely she deserves that director position. They need to stop have the acting part and just for the young lady for being the director, because she's been the face of that department for years. You understand? So you got to commend her. I just want to give her kudos on such a great job, and definitely it's been a brainchild of the department, and to see it grows, and the PS and the minister should definitely continue to show their support and trust these young people's judgment and not sometimes take their own personal feelings. Sometimes just let them lead, trust them. You see the young lady do it and everything came out well. That's the whole point. Somebody's gonna let go these people and start babysitting them. Sometimes these events, the ministers and them keep down these things, but everything went smooth and everybody's smiling and stuff like that. And so definitely, whoever the minister is, definitely continue to trust the young lady, give her the lead, give her the funding, have a budget in place where some time ago they can probably bring local artists maybe from the Nevis. You understand? You have enough local artists here. And then the 4th or 5th anniversary of bringing an international artist at the Mango Festival doing their thing. So kudos to the Department of Community Affairs and stuff like that, and all those who was involved. But I definitely have to hand out and shout out the director, Denise Smith. She have done a wonderful job, and that's what it's all about. Yeah, so the future is always no. You see? That 20 years later, no. And you see it's working.
Well,
That's what it's all.
I am happy to get that report. You know what I mean, that the event was a success, because she really did a great job in terms of promoting it. You know, I would have heard her on different various platforms going around personally. And that means a lot too when, you know, you're leading from the front. You know, you're the one actually going out and, you know, doing the PRO work and so on. You know, sometimes it's, when you're in an organization, it's challenging sometimes to even get people to, you know, put out that extra effort to go after working hours to do these kind of interviews and so on. And so I must commend her for that. I also want to commend her for having, you know, so many successful activities, because even prior to that, they would have had the Jessups Fish Festival and so on. And she's also responsible for the Breadfruit Festival, which is also, you know, becoming another big hit activity and so on. So, yes, as you point out, when our people are doing good, and especially our young people, we need to commend them, because a lot of the times when, you know, we find that they're not doing too good things, we are the first to jump and want to critique the youths and so on, and say, well, the youths are not doing this and the youths are not doing that. And so I'm really, really proud to hear that the activity was such a success, and that you're you know, giving the report that, you know, definitely for next year it needs to you know, increase and maybe even shift the venue. Well, maybe not shift the venue, but at least set up in a bigger you know, setting and style. And so I'm really proud. I'm really proud of that. And
the layout was good, and the layout was definitely nice, and so I have no issue with the layout and the stage, and everything was fine. And then they had some games and stuff like that, sack races, and you know, one or two will fall down. So very entertaining. But I gotta big up Virgin Jamesy and his wife. He here doing some cane juice with a bit of lime juice inside it. Wicked, nice flavor. And then his wife will do it at the same time, check your high blood pressure and the different stuff, and that kind of vibe. So it was some nice different stuff going on there. You know what I mean? He had the Jamaica represent a few people from Africa and them different Sinkits and Nevis, and yeah, it was really. Then he had Dandy there with the band and the Maca drum sticks and stuff like that, as usual. The culture, and you know, Woodies was dressed for the occasion in his cultural way. That was from what I think was given by the department. So it was nice. People there sitting down, relaxing at the tables. I observed the environment and stuff like that, and very nice. I must say, I like it. It was bouncing castle for the children friendly, using the bouncing castle in the play area and everything like and so forth. So kudos, well done. Yes, I'll give it a 10 out of 10, definitely.
Yeah. Nice. Wonderful. And you know, that is really, really good.
I want a wristband, you know, they didn't expect these things. You see? So it shows that they definitely come next time, double up on these things. So that was a good thing right there. So beautiful event and a success story. So as I said, the minister, the peers, trust your workers, let them lead. Don't discredit them. Whoever they choose, whoever digital choose, whatever, let them be. You see what I mean? Because it shows that they know what they're doing. Yes.
Yeah, well, you know, Banky, we would have, you know, full circle. You know, we started off on Nevis. You know, we moved on to Spring Kits. We went on to where else we went on to Jamaica. With Cartel. We went regional as well with the Jamaica Obia issue, but we did not necessarily move into anything international per se. No, before I think we didn't get a chance because so many things happened out there. We didn't get a chance to comment on this, but there's another international topic that I guess after we we close off. But Ramaphosa's visit to Trump, President of South Africa. What are your thoughts on that and what happened in that meeting?
Well, you got to understand, your son. When one Caucasian man, he sees it as genocide. You see what I mean? You can be a killer of thousands of your people. Nobody the Caucasian man once you kill him, once one of his own die. It's genocide. He feel that because he value his race life, but he don't see your life have a value. That's the difference, and that's how the world see things. We be speaking like this all the time. You know? This is the reality, my brethren. I accept this reality, and the South Africa president knows that's how these guys think. Even you say he told him, well, there are people in my country, farmers also. Chop no one hear that. Them no one hear that. We don't care about that.
But you think the other two powerful inverted commas, Caucasian brothers that Ramaphosa took with him, you think that in terms of when they spoke, you think that they helped to justify his case, or you think that they kind of betray him in their utterances?
Let me say this. If you have other ways and born a Nevis, or you're born in South Africa, you're not a native. You just born there. You're not one of the indigenous people. You don't have the connection. So to call them, whatever you want to call them, they're not they're not natives. That's what we need to understand first and hold things first. And account because you think you come a Nevis and by a Nevis, you're not a native virgin. You're not an indigenous person. That's supposed to be number one. You see, that's the reality. That's your problem. Because you see, even though he work with those two, he hold himself with the one who look like he at the end of the day. Because I hear people, even if people get killed, so here go against. And the reality, brethren, you have to choose. You're going to choose your race. The mass is going to do that. They're going to be the true self because the brain can't function like that. No matter how professional try to be. You see what I mean? Because people watching the camera tick. You see who said they're going to choose, you're going to hold. That's it. That's the reality, brethren. That is the reality. So when our leaders here are giving away our land to these investors and wherever and our money and think that they are their friends, virgin, they see you just like how they see me, how they see the rest of us. But you, they see worse because you're the one who giving away their land. That's something our issue with ourselves, not with nobody else. Nobody gonna have no gun to nobody head. Nobody gonna gun to nobody head. Trump just planned that. The what Trump did there was premeditated. You say you got things that show paper. When the paper just come out of the blue moon, this thing was premeditated way before orchestrated in the virgin. This thing was rehearsed and all things. And then he's showing a leader, opposition leader, talking all these things and waving all these different stuff. You understand, to prove his point, when that have nothing to do with the other. That is how we come to propaganda and media control and these.
Well, I mean, what he named Ramaphosa took Trump's partner to the international courts, saying that they're committing genocide. So I guess Trump is saying, "Oh well, ain't them committing genocide? Is you committing genocide? You want to take them to court? You want to take Israel to court for genocide? Is you over causing genocide?"
Oh,
and I think that, but that is the argument. That is the argument that Trump is trying to make.
But the biggest genocide committed upon us. Still, and you understand, the biggest genocide committed on us, and it's still committed against man. You see what I mean? And it's still happening.
What happening in Congo? What happening in Sudan and these areas that's happening right now? That as we speak.
Because the resources, natural resources there. Haiti.
No, but the point is, those things are not highlighted. They're not and then you have Abraham Traore, and the other Sahel countries who have signed up with him.
Ibrahim, everybody kind of Abraham is Ibrahim.
I said Ibrahim is Ibrahim Traore. But anyway,
yes,
he is leading his territory and leading the other two. Well, they have created the tri-country movement, and seemingly he is getting the support from many African territories, even though there is still a little pushback by people saying, well, he's not leading a democratic country, and they're hoping that they could eventually get to that point where they have free and fair elections and so on.
Yes, the word don't exist. Democratic don't exist. Them things don't exist. Those are just political.
I'm just repeating what is being peddled in the media and what they're saying. So I'm just saying.
He doing the right thing, giving the resources to the people, but they don't like it. You see, they don't like it. Say what? It no matter the greatest way you do, they don't like it. The people want him to study, but they don't like it. You see, because they can't control the man. Because there's no outside influence by the superpowers to tell the man what to do and dictate nothing. They don't have no say in how the man run the country. That's what and that is a fear they don't want to trickle down to other countries, because other countries gonna kick out the US investors are China, whoever investors are there that is ill-treating the resources and holding it against the people. They don't want these things. They can keep crippling the economy, Virgil. That's the way it is. It's about time we take control of our resource, and here we're giving our resource, about to give our resource in the cannabis and to this water with our lands. We can develop our own lands, yes, son. We can develop our own lands. Can we have the money? We don't need to go to nowhere or beg nobody the money to do geothermal, to build a marina. If you come with your money, otherwise no come. Can we have the conversation? That's just how it's supposed to be. We cannot borrow me money from the SIDF, from the National Bank, from nowhere. You're not touching my people money. That's it. That's if you don't have money, then we could do our own resources. That's how we see things, And for us to develop our resources. I'm not for nobody to come to do nothing for us. That. I don't say things like that. I cannot say things like that. I have no reason to think like that. I'm not one of those who see things that way. I know it's just we are just too small. We are just in a system where we are being controlled by an elite of people, which control the politicians and them. Nothing changed.
People, you're listening to the voice of one of the new voices of political choice in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, because this brother is putting himself up to run in the next local election in Nevis as an independent candidate. So a lot of the things hearing, and hearing him express passionately are the things that he believes in and the things that he would want to see as a new breed of politicians on the landscape of St. Kitts and Nevis. And let me not say politicians, but representatives, because he doesn't necessarily subscribe to the politician terminology, but representative. However, as we continue, back to the comments, Carlisle Paris is saying, obviously, it's a reflection of our society in relationship to our moral character, reflected in our behavior patterns currently. The St. Kitts Music Festival is a priority and not agriculture or the ability to feed ourselves. And it says a lot about our leaders' agenda for our society. It was good to see the Heritage Festival and needs to be promoted and encouraged more and more. So, yeah, I guess he chimed in on a few points there. I say Ujima. And I guess, people are listening and paying attention to what's going on. And I'm sure that, they are satisfied that we are bringing some different topics to the table, yes.
From the resources that we have from since 83, 84, and when we brand the SIDF in the 2000s, we should have had a brand new international airport 20 years ago. Brand new. When you come off a plane, you come straight into the airport, and I walk out on the side, like in a school, a march in a primary school, I walk one behind each other, and people tell you don't move and whatever and steady, and then when you fall, you get wet or whatever, a bus course, the bus will come for you and drive you and take it. The thing that's also happened, Virgin, we're supposed to have proper, our high education, when you come to the high school, should be state of the art with technology. You have them TV in your house, 52 in screen, you also got 100 in screen, blackboard, digital, technology, Google, boom, 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 different way of teaching the youths and them and stuff. All they using a laptop on the desk, proper desk, AC schools and all this thing here, with solar panel thing and with a gym. You understand? That's the kind of school with a cafeteria. It's too much money being wasted on here, Virgin, and we accept it. And proper healthcare system. We need a proper nursing home. Proper nursing home, because every year people are age, and then people thing is different. Can looking after elderly. I mean, people are the dynamics are shift. So the reality is,
those things are not sexy. Those things don't win election. You can't make a promise like that, fix nothing and win an election.
So if you can take a farm and do a road, you can build 300 horses and give them to people who are working under $30,000 a year. Right? If you could just take up 30,000 or 40,000 and give it to Christopher Harbour, but that in take the amount of money they could build 500 horses, you understand? Or 300 or 200 and give them to those who really need it. That is them, and they don't have, that's the difference. We can't be being canned. How you build road and then for all this money and do all these different things, but I will say money be how you take money from Social Security and still pay we to pay back the same money. But when you do the road, we not do the same thing. We do the word of small tax.
If you don't know about the deal, if you don't know about the deal, and I could keep the information away from you and keep you distracted with my little petty arguments and keep you heated arguing with and Labour and NRP and CCM and so on. That's the whole thing. And if I could keep it like that, work.
There's money to go the economy. The duty. We should duty away payroll here. This 85% of all these vehicles, we duty to high. Cut it down to we should be a duty free port. Cut it down and so things grow. Yes.
Banky. You're just saying that I wasting a lot of money and all of these things. So if I don't raise the taxes, how I could get you with wasting that kind of money there and so on, you ain't know nothing about it. Is the taxes when I don't waste the money and need, but the taxes will continue doing the other things now that you don't need to know nothing about either.
Different era, time change, ain't no more wasting. That's what they say. The wasting done with.
I love your optimism, and that's why I'm really pushing. Because if I was right now the way how you sound, if I was registered in Charleston, right, even though I've never voted, I would have voted for you because you really sound like you really, have what the people desire. But
I did a project, and over 89 different people benefited at Indian Castle. And the second phase of it was started, and the next 100 will benefit again. You understand? These are facts. Asking the businesses and homeowners who have this and have that. A reality, in that attack, the evidence is there. The invoice is there. The bills that paid to the people is there. That's the fact. Alexis can say.
Have a property only go.
Reality.
But by the time I come back, I should be able to register wherever. Right? So I guess I'm going to register in Charleston. I'm going to register in Charleston because I don't got to vote for you. I don't got to give you the X. I don't got to give you the X. So you don't convince me, though, So we don't think you're going to get so easy, You sound good,
No.
But you ain't going to get easy.
Can you see this, right? As a youth in Charleston Bay School, there was this CCF, Christian Children Fund. I was one of those child. Because your parents didn't have it. When they give you get access to textbook, you send up all these things, they come on, so you get textbook, and they can advise. Because you don't have it to buy all this, whatever it is, because then times they only go home and Johnson or the Dawes to go get half a book, a half a pencil, and you could trust up. And I was one of those students, you understand? And so our parents always don't know how the society looked down on her and her younger children and all these things. So people don't expect me and my siblings to come out with nothing. So I don't have a choice. So even though our house small, I can room me in her. You understand? She still accept people who get thrown out of their home. So we have to screen drop more cash in our refuse with children who get thrown out. Is that's how my mom is. And still be true. So this is how I put up my environment. So I know people just need opportunities, yes, son. Me not supposed to got nothing. Me supposed to still barefoot and got on tail pant or whatever it is. Me not supposed to in a house and in a car and nothing. Because that's how society look at certain people, children. But it's just equal opportunities. That's all it is. The man, children across the street ain't no different than the one who didn't have the opportunity because house full of a sardine or whatever, but yet you still not share it. So I know it all. So nobody will tell me and all this thing, most of us know it. I have the same friends from kindergarten up to today. Same friends, no additional friends. Same set of people I get along with up to today. You understand? So maybe we are same with your high school, we're still the same. We're not looking your friend. You see, because we can speak the same, we understand this thing where you come from. So I make an excuse. So I don't care who want to switch it up. The resources for the people. That's how it is. And that's how we keep it. In other way.
Right? So far, you sound real good. You sound real convincing, right? I'm just hoping also. I'm gonna be optimistic like you, right? I'm gonna be optimistic like you, and I'm feeling that you're gonna win too, right? I'm hopeful that when you win, right, that you don't get changed. One of the things that I observe is that a lot of people outside, when they're out here, they say all kind of things, and then when they get in, they end up being a different individual. I'm letting you know, Banky. Hold on, not talk yet. I putting you on the alert that when you get in and I start to see signs of any switching, I calling you out, Me gonna be one of your biggest critics. Just like how me and you're good just so. When it comes to the politics side of things, I pressure you the same way, Just pressure me by Mark, Eric, whoever the minister be, because it's nothing personal, absolutely nothing personal. But you put yourself in a position.
That's their job. Ability. That's fine. That is how it's supposed to be.
We have gone through another 2 hours here on the edition of the top. I think I'm going to use this opportunity to allow Banky to give his closing statements and any other little point that he want to put on the table before we wrap up, and we call this edition an edition for tonight, and then we look forward to another edition of Everything Agriculture coming up on Friday. So Banky, your closing statements and remarks.
Just want to give a reminder to the general public of the 75th anniversary of the Charleston Secondary School. You can donate $75 at the school. Also, there's the 13th the PTA will take part in the Fish Festival that will taking place at the waterfront, right there by the pass, in from by the ferry terminal. So we're having some different seafood stuff to be and sale. All these money goes to rehabilitating the hall at the Charleston Secondary School and any other physical amendment need to be made at the school that needed, and anything that needs to be bought and stuff like that when it comes to electronics and stuff like that. 75 years is a lot of years. There's a lot of students that pass through the school, engineers, doctors, lawyers, tradesmen, contractors, whatever you can call it, have been through that school. A lot of good stories and stuff like that. So definitely, this is something the PTA and the 75th Anniversary Committee would want to see come possible. So I also want to encourage the government to put in at least $7.5 million for the 75 years they've been in place. I think the head teacher with Parish would love something like that to let the school have. And I want to call upon the Minister of Education and the PSCs and all of that, and to also, because this can also, I want to see this trickle down also to the Gingerland Secondary School, and within the next 5 years, build 2 brand new high school with gym and cafeteria and make it when it comes to technology. We deal with technology now, make learning different. This is not like we were in school, yes, and we have to go to the library and fight for one biology book or chemistry book or physics book and all this, and still studying in groups and all these things. Everybody have smart devices. So whereas when you go into a classroom, you should have desktop and notebooks that you're learning it from, making teaching different. You see what I mean? And stuff like that. So I just want to say, support the Charleston Secondary School, donate, and also support. I just want to say thanks to all those who continue to support Mansell's Last Stop and Shepherds Avenue. Greatly appreciate you guys continuing, coming and supporting whatever is they're calling the mangoes. Have a lot of Emmy Polly mangoes, have regular Polly, have some grafted mangoes, and have some melon coming in and stuff like that. So definitely we're working on something coming up for the school is out on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. We'll have the family can bring the kids in the farm and have different snacks and stuff forth at the front where they shop at the gazebos and see the sunset and all this different stuff. So we're doing some different stuff on the farm. So just want to always big up my cousin Amanis and Aisha. You understand? So keeping their father, legacy alive. They're doing a beautiful job. On Fridays, you can get your cook up. Saturdays, you get your fish and caramel, your oxtail, you whatever. Different soul food. And girls really got the way when they come to cook. Real traditional, old school cooking. These young ladies have passed on with the parents have passed on to them. So definitely just want a big up cut. And Wilroy Morton and the other guys, them Eddie and the guys who come through willingly every Saturday and showing their support. For my uncle that left there and the children have continued legacy. So really appreciate each and every customer that come through every day and buy even a water. It's grateful because you can always spend the money somewhere. So gratitude is always a must for me, son.
Yeah, man, give thanks. It was a pleasure having you back as a guest again, as a host again on this edition of the topic. You in your closing, you spoke to education, and one of the things I want to add to what you mentioned in relation to education is the need for us to zoom in on getting our youths involved in AI as early as possible.
Yes.
It is a part of the future, and the earlier we get our children to begin to embrace the technology and be informed and at least start to work with it, the better it is for us as a nation moving forward. I want us to also look at collaborating with Africa in terms of doing a lot more educational exchanges. I would have heard the Premier speak to scholarships that are available in Morocco, and I'm sure that there might be other African countries that we could develop exchanges with and so on. I want the government to also look at, as they're thinking about rolling out the EV section and other alternative energy sources, to look to Africa for some of these solutions, because Africa have, up to this point, there's a young man who I think is in Zimbabwe or Zambia, somewhere over there, who has a vehicle that runs without even using batteries. And so,
of course,
sometimes we are thinking that our people are backward and, we don't have the technology and so on. But sometimes in these times, it is something that we really need to consider, that trade between Africa and the Caribbean. And Banky, I think as I close, I would have been on a discussion with a brother from Nigeria the other day, and we were talking about the Igbo people and so on. And I think that it is pushing me to really, I spoke to Ira about this, and at least the Real Entertainment team about this already sometime in the past, but I think after having that discussion, it is really pushing me to really begin to have a program that is set aside to address this issue specifically. So on the topics, I'm going to eventually invite him, that individual, to come and talk about, the Igbo and Africa, and so we can kind of get a better idea, because one of the issues that we have, everything from Africa was stripped from us, as we spoke about the Obia issue and so on. It shows how much was done of trying to take away everything from us.
The Igbo and the people in the kingdom of Benin is, and when it comes to the practices, that's where we're going.
So what I'm saying now, a lot of
Yes.
these things sometimes are in our traditions and customs, but we're not even
Yes.
aware because we don't even know that we are connected to these people. It is only when they make that connection, they're able to say, well, okay, this is done in Africa, and this is done in this community. So we need to be able to, as we seek to talk about developing relations with Africa, we need to know, do the education in terms of trying to find out more about our roots and why we do some of the things that we do, and even eventually learn African language and find out more about our
Yeah.
customs and traditions and so on. So I want to be able to utilize the platform to be able to have a program where I could invite people from the continent to be able to share from different, whether people in Congo, people in, Burkina Faso, somebody maybe in Mali, somebody in, and we do things like
Okay.
that. So it's something that I'm really, seeking to really do so that we can really begin that level of discussion. So with that, Banky, I want to say, thanks to everybody who would have locked in, all those who are locked in. I see, okay, a new listener here, Leisha, former colleague of mine we talked together. She's a teacher in St. Kitts. Greetings, calling me by a name that I don't even remember. But anyway,
Yes, sir.
greetings. I want to say good night to my mother and my sisters over there in Fountain. I see my Daniel. Also want to say good evening to all of the people who support Tafari's Plant Nursery. Note that we do have a distribution branch right there at Shabazz Organics. So for those of you who might not
Yes, sir.
necessarily want to join the way to Fountain, you can place your order for certain plants. Some will be there, but if it's not there and you're interested, you could place an order and we can get it delivered there and
Yes,
get
sir.
it sorted out for you. Right? Um, Also, all those who support all natural boosters who have been purchasing my two new products, the essential oils and the 3-in-1 Spark set. I want to thank you guys. It really means a lot. It's not easy when you're doing your own business and really seeking to, do a lot on your own, being your own brand ambassador and all that. But I want to give thanks to those who have been supporting the mission so far. Without you, I would have been able to say that I have products, but I don't have any buyers. But I want to thank all those who would have supported so far, and I want to wish you all the best on the journey. I want you to continue to support local agripreneurs and local farmers and entrepreneurs on St. Kitts and Nevis in Africa. And we really have to seriously zoom in on that relationship between Africa and the Caribbean. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Real Entertainment Network. And please remember to join Real Entertainment on YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube channel because Facebook is going to be cutting off the videos in 30 days. So if you really want to repeat, please log into us on YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and share. Enough love, everybody. Guidance and protection. See you guys on Friday for another edition of Everything Agriculture. Okay, looks like we're still live. If so, yeah. If so, I'll just keep you guys up until our sort us out And I really got to give thanks to the Real Entertainment Network team. A lot of people don't know, but we're able to do this global. Bankies and Nevis. Bankies and I am in California. Some of the team members in the US. And we all are collaborating to make this a reality. And so it is quite interesting. So the technical team is based in the US, in Miami. And so we're waiting for them to log us out, right? So it's a collaborative effort. So give thanks to everybody who would have been, with the Real Entertainment Network team over the years. And we continue to do our bit in terms of providing information, entertainment, and education as we seek to do whatever we can in the media space. We tend to be totally different from a lot of mainstream media. We don't necessarily address sometimes the typical topics, but we get into a number of different issues here on this platform, and especially on this show that is called The Topics. We have wrapped up, but we're waiting on the technical team to log me out. And so until then, I guess I'll be here with you. And I see we still got at least 4 people logged on online. If you want to add a comment or anything in the meantime before we drop out, I could address any comment or anything that is on the table. But in the meantime, just want to say thank you guys for giving us your support over the years. We continue to do what we can do in terms of bringing the information and the topics from sometimes a different paradigm. It's always good to be able to have that, not just the same points of views. And we want to be able to encourage people to be able to do that, to debate and have even heated exchanges, and have differences of opinion without getting angry or upset. And if it's one thing I love with the reasoning with me and Banky most times, and even Alan sometimes on the platform, we don't necessarily agree, but we have our heated exchanges, and we're able to continue and pick up the next day or the next week or whatever it is and continue the conversation. And so that is what we seek to demonstrate, that we should have that ability to debate as a people, something that is lacking. And I think, as I mentioned, that this brings me to a topic that I keep putting on the table, but I don't know. I think that we need to encourage a lot more of our youths to engage in debates. Not just wait until you have the literary and debating competition or the Leeward Islands debating competition, but a lot of the topics that sometimes are not necessarily discussed by the public, we could seek to organize school events. And maybe this could be a way for schools to generate funds, revenue generation. I know it takes a lot to prepare them for debates and so on, but yes, the time that it takes to prepare them, but also think about the end result, the net result, in the sense that we would have a lot more people who would be able to deal with conflict resolution and be able to, have debate points, and be able to, accept, okay, by next time I need to go and do some more research and come back and be better. It's not that I lost because really and truly they're better than me, just that maybe they were more research and more informed and so on. And so, things like that. So I'm saying that I think we need to encourage a lot more of our youths to practice debating. And then we would eventually get to that point where we could have our politicians debating each other. I don't know what you guys think about that, because I think it's time now for us to have that kind of debate similar to what we have in America, where, if you're running, don't just, you have your platform and you say what you want to say over there because you think you have the supporters and your supporters are going to support you. And then the opposition do the thing in their own little town hall meeting and their own little village, whatever. What about that the 2 or 3 or 4 candidates have an open debate, and you have, whether it's the media personnel or whoever the moderator is, ask them the questions and have them respond accordingly, similar to how we would see the debates with, whoever is vying for president in America and so on. What about the people? Y'all don't think it is time for us to get to that point? We say we are a predominantly educated society. Don't you think it is time for us to be able to engage in these, sorts of discussions and debates? Let me know. That's something that I have been, seeking to put on the table as a way of helping to deal with some of the challenges that we are dealing with our youth, because I think that is one of the issues in terms of conflict resolution, knowing how to deal with issues and, because if you learn how to debate properly, then you wouldn't necessarily be so angry and so frustrated that you have to, or you feel like you have to resort to violence or getting angry and hitting somebody. But you would now have that ability now to be able to reason and counter, and you know what I mean? You all are free to weigh in. But that's just something that I think that could help a lot. And so, and at the same time, create platforms for a lot of the topics that are sometimes neglected as a result of the petty parties and politics that we sometimes delve into most times. So like things like, for example, the Prime Minister would have said at some point that before he exits government, he wants to make St. Kitts and Nevis a republic. But there has never been any debates or discussions surrounding the topic. How about you creating, opportunities for these kinds of discussions by setting up schools and so on to have debates on topics like these, even, cannabis and so on. Some of the tough topics are things, even the one that we spoke about earlier on, OBR and so on, should it still be on the books, or the banning of books in St. Kitts and Nevis, should we still be doing these things in 2025, right? So topics like these that might be, deemed controversial, we could, stimulate discussions in the communities and societies by doing these things. And we have modern means of streaming these things live and so on. And so, even if we don't have the show of support in terms of the public coming out to the events, if they are streamed and so on, you might be able to get the viewership and so on. So it's, so just some ideas that I am, putting out there and I'm putting on the table. It seems as if the team is still not ready to log me out yet. Okay, all right. I'm hearing some music in the background, so I think that is a signal to say that they're ready for us to get out of here. So people, give thanks everybody. See you guys next week. Upload. Friday.
Educational show. And tune in. It's inspirational, educational,